Hello and welcome to another episode of Salary Voodoo, the show right here on the MMA Engine channel, where I, your host Monk, aka the Monkmatician, bring you a couple of fights from a different perspective, breaking down salaries instead of fighters. I have a ton of data regarding DraftKings salaries since the 1st of January 2021, and I am more than happy to share it with you, broken down in a couple of fights for UFC Charlotte this Saturday. Guys, it is a morning card, so be sure to get your lineups in early. And without further ado, let's get right into the voodoo. First things first, Salary Voodoo offers stats that aim to give you a fresh, unique angle when it comes to MMA DFS lineup construction, especially in regards to GPP tournaments. I get stats from historically unusual places such as salaries, fight positions, weight classes, etc. Heavily probability based and very heavily overanalyzed. Salary Voodoo stats track since 1/1/21, as I said, and natural salaries only are used for calculations. Most importantly, guys, be sure to comment next week's fights that you want to see from a Salary Voodoo perspective. UFC Vegas 73. Comment them down below in this video, please. Absolutely love it when you guys do that. Makes it so much more fun. We don't know the salaries yet for the fighters, and that definitely improves the show when you guys pick it. So be sure to leave your comments down below, the fights you want to see from a GPP Salary Voodoo perspective. And without further ado, let's get right into it. And fight number one that we're breaking down from UFC Charlotte is going to be 9,100 Anton Levy going against 7,100 Pete Rodriguez. Actually, these two are lightweight fights, and lightweights make the optimal lineup 49.48% of the time, so basically a 50-50 shot. Fight number four is one of the better fights of the night to target, makes optimal lineup 53% of the time, but the salary pair of 91 and 71 is generally a big stay away for me. 40.5% optimal. We are over leveraged to that salary pair by almost 5%, meaning we have 5% too much of 9,100 and 71 when it comes to actually rostering our fighters. The average ownership for 91 is almost 28%, and we are plus 7.5% leveraged to that position, guys. That means we are putting 9,100 in our rosters 7.5% too much. You do not want positive leverage. You want negative leverage like our guy Pete Rodriguez has. But first, 9,100 Southpaw versus Switch. When those fights occur, Southpaws win 46% of the time. 36% finish win rate for 9,100 and 33% decision win rate. Very good. 7,100 is the Switch stance fighter. Switch versus Southpaw. Switch wins 52% of the time. 17.3% ownership, and we have negative 3% leverage there, and that's what you want to see. You want negative leverage on your guys, meaning when you roster them, the more you roster them, the more leverage that you're gaining when it comes to your GPP lineups. And if they win, you're in a good spot, and the people that don't use that leverage don't have as much exposure to them. Let's get into the salary stats. Funnily enough, $2,000 difference here. Big favorite salary versus big dog salary. They've each made the optimal lineup 18 out of 89 times. Not a good number. 20% optimal. That is it. When 9,100 actually has a win rate of 68.5% to just 31.5% for 7,100. When they win, though, 9,100 makes optimal just 30% of the time, and that's being generous, while 7,100 makes it 64% of the time when it wins. And the average DraftKings points per optimal, 114.69 for 9,100, 96.66 for 7,100. Now you might think, why is 114 red? Isn't higher, more points better? Yes, you're absolutely right. But think of it this way. 9,100 has to get to 114.69 points to make the optimal lineup, while 7,100 only has to get to 96.66. I'd rather take my chances on the 96. So as far as DraftKings goes, I mean, these two salaries are very equal. We're getting negative leverage, which is what we want. Negative leverage out of the $7,100 side. We get the positive advantage of Switch versus Southpaw. We get the less DraftKings points needed to make the optimal lineup, and 64, almost 65% optimal in wins, guys. I like both sides here, but I'm not Xing out Pete Rodriguez. I will have probably more than the field as far as Pete Rodriguez goes, but that's not what we're talking about here. We want to know the salary voodoo. What does the salary voodoo have to say? Is 9,100 versus 7,100 bad voodoo, or is it that good voodoo? We've got a frozen jack. That means we've got that bad voodoo here on 9,100, 7,100. It is just not generally a great fight to target. You saw the 20% optimal rate from the favorite. You saw the 20% optimal rate from the dog. And now you see frozen jack, which tells you this is not a good fight for salary voodoo. The $9,100 salary, 9.79 salary score, 23rd best overall out of 31 possible salaries. So we're at the lower third of salaries here, while 7,100, the underdog side, 9.68, just a smidge better, but 2 positions better overall, 21st out of 31 salaries. So again, there are some benefits here with the $7,100 side, and Pete Rodriguez hits hard. So there's always that chance. Natan Levy probably will win, probably via wrestling. But as far as Salary Voodoo goes, they say watch out for this fight. That said, I don't mind a little underdog play here. Next fight. And fight number 2 for Salary Voodoo, we've got a banger in the light heavyweight division. Carlos Ulberg at 9,300 going against the $6,900 Iho Potieria. Start with the light heavyweight fight, and thank you, Tammy Craps, for picking this fight. Hopefully you did make it over 60 lbs. Light heavyweight fight, these guys are way more than 60 lbs, I'll tell you that much. 205 pounders, someone makes the optimal lineup in light heavyweight fights 51.19% of the time. Fight number 9, very, very poor. One of the lowest on the entire card out of all the fights. 41% even. Someone makes the optimal lineup. And the salary pair of 93 and 69, 49.32. So just under 50% optimal. But we do have negative leverage here, and it's a good number, 5.21%. So this fight generally goes under-owned by over 5%. So again, with guys that probably, one of them's probably going to knock the other one out, this might be a fight to target just off the bat there with that negative 5.2% leverage. 9,300, average ownership is off the charts, 31%. And we do have a positive leverage with that giant ownership number of 2.23%. So not a ton of positive leverage, but just a little bit here. Orthodox versus Southpaw. Look at these numbers, guys. Orthodox, when Orthodox fights Southpaw, Orthodox wins just 44.59% of the time, while Southpaw wins 53.5% of the time. Finish win percent for 9,300, 48% to 24.5 decision win percent. 6,900, average ownership, very low. 12.92, we'll call it 13%. The leverage on 6,900 is negative 7.62, gigantic number. It means that 9,600 is making the optimal lineup 7.5% more often than people are putting it in their lineup. So that is a huge leverage spot. Overall, very low underdog salary to target here. Finish win percent, just 12.33%, same with decision win. Let's get into the Salary Voodoo. These two salaries have fought each other 73 times since 1/1/21. 9,300 has made the optimal lineup 21 times to just 15 for 6,900. That is a 28.77% optimal rate to just over 20.5% for 6,900. Win rate for 9,300 is 72.6, while its dog salary has a win rate of just 24.66%. When it does make optimal, 9,300, 39.62, or when it does win, rather, it makes the optimal lineup 39.62%. We could call it 40, but look at 6,900. When it wins, every 5 out of 6 wins, 6,900 makes the optimal lineup. That is a gigantic number, and I think it's the best number on the entire card. Average DraftKings points per optimal lineup for 9,300 is 114.63 to just 99.56. So again, how many points do you have to get to the optimal lineup? Lower means better here. Guys, let's let the Salary Voodoo do its work. Are we going to get some good voodoo or some bad voodoo for 6,900 versus 9,300? And you see Bernie's face up here. That means we got that good voodoo, baby. Bernie is out here living it up, having a fantastic time, and so are these two fighters when you put them in your roster. You got to roster this fight. It's a fantastic fight, especially the favorite side. 9,300 has a salary score of 7.38. That's almost top 10, just outside at 11th best overall. And 6,900 has not a very good salary score, just 10.12, 25th best overall out of 31 salaries. But as I said, every 5 out of 6 wins, guys, it's on the optimal lineup. So there are some good optimal numbers, but the 20% optimal rate overall is not good. And the win percentage of like 30 is probably not the best either. So I like this fight for DraftKings. I already said I think someone gets finished early, and Salary Voodoo and Bernie both back me up here. Let's take a look at the last fight that we're going to be looking at for Salary Voodoo. And this one is picked by Doug's Mom's Wig. Thank you so much, Doug's Mom's Wig. This is another light heavyweight fight between Johnny Walker and Anthony Smith, but more importantly, 8,200 versus 8,000. Again, light heavyweights make the optimal 51.19% of the time. Fight number 11, very good fight to target overall, 52.38% optimal. The salary pair of 8,200 and 8,000, just under 49% optimal. and we just barely have some positive leverage, 2.26%. 8,200 average ownership for that salary is 26.5%, and we have positive leverage there, almost 4%, so that's not exactly zero. It's not exactly high either, but 4% is not a small number, especially when you're playing 150s. We have Orthodox versus Orthodox here. Finish win rate for 8,200 is 26%, decision win rate 20.5%. Meanwhile, the 8,000 side average ownership 24.5%, so about 2% less than its favorite salary. And we do have negative leverage here, just barely, negative 1.6%, but there is a tiny bit of leverage there on the 8K salary. 19.32% finish win rate, 30.68 decision win rate. These two salaries have fought each other 88 times. 8,200's made the optimal lineup 20 times for a 22.73% optimal rate, has just a 46.5% win rate, and when it does win, it only makes optimal 48.78% of the time, averaging 110.64 points. Guys, these numbers for 8,200 are just kind of pedestrian. Nothing is really standing out, and in fact, the optimal rate and the win rate are all below 50. Not something you really want to see. Let's take a look at the underdog salary of 8K. It has made the optimal lineup 23 times out of those 88 uses for an optimal rate of 26.14%, 3.5 points better than its favorite counterpart. Has an even 50% win rate, 3.5 points better than its favorite counterpart. And when it does win, it's optimal 52.27% of the time. Say it with me, 3.5% better than its favorite counterpart, guys, scoring 103.82 points per optimal. I love the 8K side. I actually love this fight as a whole. I think this one is definitely a fight to target. That's just me personally speaking, not the Salary Voodoo. But as you could imagine, well, actually, it could go either way, this one. 8,200 versus 8K. I will be looking to roster this salary, but it doesn't matter what I think. You can watch a different show for that. It's called Game Theory on the MonkMMAtics channel. It'll be linked in the description below. It is up to what Salary Voodoo is thinking, so this is going to be an interesting one. 8,200 versus 8K. Are we going to get a Bernie? Are we going to get a Frozen Jack? Let's find out, guys. Co-main event for UFC Charlotte. We have got ourselves a Bernie. You absolutely love to see it. The Salary Voodoo agrees with me. You got to target this fight. It's kind of a more of a middling fight as far as Salary Voodoo goes. As you can see, 8,200 has a salary score of 8.6, 16th best overall. That's basically average. And then 8K, 7.74 salary score. That is 13th best, a bit above average there. So we do like this fight for Salary Voodoo, just barely. You can see Bernie there with his little smirk. He likes this fight as well. And again, I think there's going to be violence here. There's a ton of finishes between these two overall in their losses and in their wins. So I love this fight for a fight to target, and the Salary Voodoo does back me up. Let's get a quick recap before we get you out of here. All right, guys, just to go over it real quick, UFC Charlotte recap. Our first fight, 9,100 and 7,100. Natan Levy going against Pete Dead Game Rodriguez. We've got a Frozen Jack there. Not necessarily the greatest fight to target as far as Salary Voodoo goes. But then we've got a Bernie right after that. Ulberg at 9,300 going against Potieria at 6,900. That is a fight we do want to target, especially two big boys that love knocking other people out. So we've got a Bernie on that one. And the third and final fight for UFC Charlotte that we went over right here on Salary Voodoo MMA Engine. Hit the like, sub to the channel. Is the co-main event for UFC Charlotte. 8,200 Johnny Walker versus 8K Anthony Smith. Salary Voodoo likes that fight, is just a bit above average, but hey, anything above average is something that we look to play. So again, I think there's going to be violence in that fight, and I completely agree here. We'll see about that first fight, but I love the two Bernies on the back end, guys. Let's get you out of here. All right, we did it. Thank you so much for joining me for Salary Voodoo UFC Charlotte happening this Saturday. Again, get your lineups, get your bets, get your picks in early. Fights start at 11:30 Eastern, 10:30 Central AM. So it's a very early card. So be sure to, like I said, get your picks in and bets as well. And guys, comment down below, again, fights you want to see, UFC Vegas 73, and there's only one thing left to do. I hope all of you enjoy the fights. So enjoy, and we will see you in the next one.